Hi everyone! I'd like you to take a moment to think about your day-to-day lives. If you're anything like me, you probably use a lot of office paper. Being a receptionist makes that a little bit unavoidable sometimes. Perhaps throughout the day you read a newspaper. While you're at work, you probably have a glass of water or a soda. When you get home and cook dinner in the evening, chances are there is something that you cook that comes out of either a bag, bottle, jar, box, and if you go out to eat, chances are that you get something in a plastic bag or a box. And then what do you do with all this waste at the end of the day? Do you put it in the garbage can or do you recycle it? If you put it in the garbage can, I would like to take some time to explain to you why you should be recycling. And if you do recycle, I'm going to take some time at the end to explain how you may be doing so incorrectly. I'm going to start off by talking about some environmental problems facing today's society. According to Rinkesh, there are 15 primary environmental problems in today's society. However, I have reduced the list to 9 because some of them are pretty redundant. The 9 that I selected include pollution, climate change, overpopulation, depletion of natural resources, waste disposal, loss of biodiversity, deforestation, ozone depletion, and health risks to humans and animals. We'll start off by talking about pollution. There are 2 types of environmental pollution in today's society. These include air and water pollution. They both occur as a byproduct of everyone's day-to-day lives as well as manufacturing process. Air pollution is caused primarily because of emissions from vehicles, everyone's day-to-day driving. Climate change is something that is widely debated, however, it is measurable. Overpopulation impacts all of these factors, and I will touch on them briefly. And the definition of overpopulation is the growth of the human race at an unsustainable rate. Depletion of natural resources occurs for 2 reasons. The first is obviously overpopulation. Too many people around and they use up too many resources because there simply isn't enough resources to sustain everyone. And the second is overconsumption because obviously people in well-developed countries have access to more and they use more natural resources than people in underdeveloped countries. Waste disposal occurs in 2 ways. The first is burial, and the second is incineration. When trash is incinerated, it gets rid of the trash, however, it results in air pollution. And when trash is buried, you have to find space for it, which is obviously an issue with the overpopulation. Despite the fact that the United States only makes up 5% of the world's population, they actually make up 70% of the world's waste. Now, what do we do with all this waste, you might ask? We ship it off to other countries. Loss of biodiversity occurs because of deforestation. Deforestation occurs because of overpopulation, the need for farming lands, the need for wood for resources. And when we remove all of these trees, it removes the habitats that these creatures once lived in, so they have no place to go and they can end up dying. Ozone depletion occurs because of air pollution. And then, when ozone depletion occurs, it results in climate change. Because a thinning ozone layer allows more of the sun's rays to get in to the Earth's atmosphere. But the air pollution traps the sun's rays inside of the Earth's atmosphere so that it cannot get back out, and that results in rising temperatures. Health risks to humans and animals occur due to pollution in both the air and water, because neither is safe for consumption. But the good news is there's something that you can do about it. You can follow the 3 R's. The 3 R's including reduce, reuse, and recycle. However, I'm going to focus on recycling today. There are two types of recycling. These are upcycling and downcycling. Upcycling occurs when the product that you recycle is worth more in its recycled form than it was when you initially recycled it. And downcycling occurs when the product created from the recycled product is worth less than it was in its original form. A common form of downcycling is paper, especially like office papers and newspapers. When you recycle them, they're worth less. However, recycling them is important because, as we talked about, deforestation, we all know that paper is made from wood, and creating new paper requires more deforestation. Now, what are some of the items that you can put into your recycling bins? I'll show you. We'll start with my favorite, glass. I use a lot of glass. Plastic. Very important to recycle plastic because plastic is made from oil, and that is a very limited resource. You can recycle plastics number 1 and 2, which you can generally find on the bottom of a container. Metal. That's an important product to recycle because it is actually upcycled and worth more in its recycled form. Paper. Newspapers, office papers, they're all recyclable. Paperboard. This, a few years ago, was not recyclable, but today it is. Cardboard. Make sure that you remove any personal information before recycling and break down the boxes. And another surprising one that people don't know, these are also recyclable. Now I'm going to tell you about some of the factors for improper recycling. One thing that people often put in recycling bins which do not belong there are plastic bags. However, plastic bags are recyclable and facilities exist within grocery stores and supermarkets where you can place them, but they do not belong in a traditional recycling bin. And another major issue facing recycling is contamination. Contamination occurs a lot with like pizza boxes, food contaminant. It doesn't belong in the recycling bin. So anything with like pizza grease, it should go in the trash can. Or when you have jars, you need to rinse them out before you put them in the recycling bin. Because if you recycle something that's contaminated, they'll have to throw out or burn the entire bunch that it was recycled with. And now sorting. It's important to follow these regulations when recycling because things which do not belong in the recycling bins will get caught in sorters. And this makes recycling more expensive and less worth it. And it can even result in the removal of recycling bins from certain areas if contaminants and improper items are placed into these recycling bins. Recycling is a very important part of a circular economy, and it has many benefits to the consumers as well. If you recycle, you can receive health benefits due to lack of incineration and air pollution in your area, and it can also result in financial benefits, especially with the case of electronics. When you recycle electronics, you can actually purchase cheaper electronics in the future when they are refurbished. And it can result in cheaper products for people as well because producing recycled materials and reusing them is cheaper than producing new ones.